Hi, this is Tina Monk with Natural Suds and More, and this is my beginner cold process soap video. Before you begin, make sure you have a couple hours blocked off of your time, no kids or pets are around. Make sure you have all of your PPE on, your personal protective equipment, and make sure that your area is ready to go, your molds are lined if needed, and all your ingredients are set out for you so that you don't have to go searching around for anything. And if you haven't watched my lye safety video or any lye safety video, please do that. If you've never made soap before, I'm going to walk you through this for just a very plain soap. And this recipe is actually my grocery store recipe number 2 that's in my ebook. And that recipe is 18.8 ounces of water, 7.96 ounces of sodium hydroxide, 15 ounces of organic vegetable shortening, it's actually a palm shortening, 25 ounces of olive oil, 15 ounces of coconut oil, and 2 ounces of sweet almond oil. And this is a 5% super fat, and this yields 83.8 ounces. So what I do with cold process soap first is I weigh my water, and that goes into the sink, and then I weigh my sodium hydroxide, which is what I'm doing right here. And I always use stainless steel bowls. I don't use plastic, especially don't use plastic when you are weighing your lye, because it creates static electricity and your lye beads can jump all over the place. That's not something you want to deal with. So just use the stainless steel bowls, and the stainless steel bowls can take the heat, and they don't rust, and you don't have to worry about chemicals leaching into them like you would if you're using plastic. So that's why I always use stainless steel bowls when I'm working with my lye. And I always line my area with garbage bags. You can use newspaper, but I like the garbage bags because it's plastic, and it's you don't have to worry about soap spills going and soaking through the newspaper and getting on your counter. It's just easy cleanup method that I do. This is actually a spare kitchen that we have downstairs. It's not good for anything else, but it makes a really great soap lab. And always pour your lye into your water. Just remember, snow falls on the lake. You never do it the other way around, or you can get a volcano dangerous mess on your hands. And the lye will cloud up, and this is completely normal, and it heats up to about 200 degrees. So I always make sure that I have my mask on and my goggles and my chemical resistant gloves, and I actually wear a lab coat, and I have long pants on as well, and shoes, and you just need to make sure you're covered. I am very sensitive to the lye fumes, so I really make sure that I am covered. But yes, please, if you have not watched lye safety videos, do that before you begin to make soap. That is where the most important thing is, the lye safety. That is my laser thermometer. I actually bought it at I'm trying to think, Baumgart's, I believe, is where I got it. It was a bit pricier one, but I bought some of the cheaper ones, and they always quit working on me, and so this one I think was about $65, and I've been using it for a long time, and I haven't even had to change the battery in it, so it's been a really great laser thermometer. But I always stir with silicone spatula, high heat silicone spatulas. I don't use, you could use stainless steel, but I don't, this is just what works for me. And don't use wood. Don't use wood utensils. The lye will eat through the wood, and I know they do, I've never seen them, but they make splinter-free wood utensils, but still, it's going to eat through that wood. So just use the high heat silicone spatulas or something else. Just don't use the wood. And these are fairly inexpensive at Target, Walmart, whatever. And I think I've been using the same spatula for like 2 years, so they will hold up. And this is the organic shortening that I use. It is made from sustainable palm oil from Spectrum. I do not use Crisco. You can totally if you want to for this recipe. I don't. It's my personal preference not to use the GMO ingredients, and I know how shortening is made, so I just don't want to use it. And since palm oil is already solid, it doesn't need hydrogenation. So that's just a much better option for shortening. As you know, if something's hydrogenated, it has the hydrogen atoms added, which creates trans fats. So this is also a much healthier option if you want to cook with it too, than using the Crisco. And I used to be able to buy this or buy it at Target. It was one thing I didn't have to buy online, but like last week I went to go get some more and they discontinued it. Oh, so upset. So I had to go back online and order some more. I was out. But every time you weigh something on your scale, put your container on the scale and then tare it. So it's read 0 with your container on there. So that way you know that you are getting the exact oil weight. And you never ever weigh by volume. You always do the ounces or grams. Never go by cups or anything like that. As soon as I weigh it, it goes into my crock pot, which is on low. For cold process, I always get my lye water going, and since it gets to 200 degrees, I let that do its thing and I let it cool. And then it cools as my hard oils are melting. And if I melt them at low in the crock pot, and I only do the hard oils, you don't need to add the liquid oils until after. So that way, this is how I started doing it a few years ago, and it made so much more sense to me than trying to melt oils in a different container and then transfer them to a plastic tub, or this just simplified it for me. So if you like how I do this, and it works for you and it simplifies it for you, that's awesome. But this is how I do it, and it just made sense, and the timing works out perfectly, because by the time my lye water is cooled down, my oils are melted and they're at the right temperature, and then I can add my liquid oils to it and then just put the lye and water mix in soap. I actually have my coconut oil is in a 5-gallon bucket on the floor. There's no lift in that. So, but, and I got that from Soaper's Choice too. That's where a lot of my oils come from, is Soaper's Choice. But if you're just starting out and just go to the grocery store just to practice and get a few things, you don't need to go buy bulk and go crazy until you know that this is something you want to do. And when you get later on into the process, when you're just starting out and you're just trying to figure this out, just go to the grocery store. Like, this is my grocery store recipe number 2, like I said in my ebook. I have a few just grocery store recipes and basic recipes just to get you started. And then I also list, I think I have about 15 of my top selling recipes in my ebook as well too. So, and this video will be hyperlinked into my ebook as well. Now what I do here is I'm weighing the olive oil from Soaper's Choice, but my hard oils are still melting, so what I like to do is just to prepare, I will get this way. I like to do it all at once, but then I leave my liquid oil sitting out. And then I will actually add the 2 ounces of sweet almond oil to the olive oil. But when you're just starting out, I don't recommend doing that, and you have to have a very steady hand, because if you add 2 ounces, you need to add 2 ounces, and you accidentally add 3 or 4, or your pour, it's off, you can't just take that sweet almond oil back out. So I recommend just doing the one oil at a time. But this way, the way I do it, I have the liquid oil sitting there, everything's weighed out, and it's ready to go for when the hard oils are melted. And what I do is I take the crock pot out of the base and I set it on the counter, and this is about 110 degrees. And at this point, my lye water is around that temperature as well too. And then, since my hard oils are all melted, and then I just added the liquid oils in. And if your hard oils do get a little bit hotter, you're adding the colder liquid oils, so it can help bring the temperature down as well too. But just keep in mind, you don't want to get any hotter than 120 degrees making soap. And that's a plain soap. This is just plain. If you want to do any designs or swirls, or if you want to have more time to work with the soap, you're going to need to do this 80 to 90 degrees. And you're going to need to have a very thin trace. Now for just plain soaps, which I do a lot of, I have a lot of customers that are like, tell me they're allergic to everything and sensitive to everything, so I do make a lot of plain soaps. And the chiropractor office that sells my soaps, they have a lot of customers in there to just want the plain soap, so they sell a lot of my plain soaps there. Yeah, you just checking the temperature again. Yeah, but since this is just a plain soap, I'm going to 110, 120 degrees is perfectly fine to do it like that. And I always pour my lye water in down my spatula. It helps avoid splashing, and it helps avoid extra air being poured in. It just makes it smoother, and you just pour slowly so you don't splash. And you can also wear a face shield too. After the lye fumes are gone, it's just more about, keeping any splatter from getting on your face. So a face shield really, really helps there too. I have one, so sometimes I'll switch. If I'm going to be working with it a lot and I'm worried about stuff, I have the face shield on because I'm so sensitive to it. Just make sure that I'm covered. But then I just stir a little bit. You can just start stick blending if you want. This is just how I like to do it. I like to get the emulsification started slowly, and then I will add the stick blender in. And if you plan on doing a lot more soaping later on, I do recommend having backups of everything. But when you put the stick blender in, tilt it to the side and burp it, and that gets the air that's trapped underneath there around the blade. That way you're not whipping air into your soap. If you get air whipped into your soap, it's completely fine. You're just going to see a bunch of white spots throughout the whole bar. It doesn't hurt anything, but if you're trying to do designs and stuff, that can interfere with your design. So if you burp it and just do it like that, then you don't have to worry about the air spots showing up in your soap. But now, since this is just a plain soap, I want it to be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to get it to a little bit thicker trace. It's like somewhere between a thin and medium. Like here's still pretty thin, you can't see. And what trace is just, it's getting thicker. The emulsification has, it's done, and it just gets thicker. The more you stir, the thicker it's going to get, and the less you're going to be able to do anything with it. So if you want to do colors, swirls, anything like that, you're only going to want to go just to emulsification till a thin trace. And you might not even be able to see a trickle if or a drag marks or anything. So that's how I do that. But yeah, so you can see here, you can see the drag marks. That's trace. But yeah, you don't need to go to medium trace or anything if you want to do designs, because that's just going to hinder you. But with the plain soaps, I like to do that because I like to texturize the tops. If I don't do any colors or anything, I'm going to put it in the mold, and I'm going to texturize the top a little bit. Because I just feel the need to have some sort of decoration and make it, something going on there. But since I'm just plain, there's no colors, essential oils, or anything in this, it's just going to get poured straight into the mold. And always, always, always let your soaps cure for 4 to 6 weeks before you use them. Now this soap does get a full gel in the mold, and that's finishing the saponification process. The lye is being neutralized, but your soaps need that time to cure. So you need to have a place for them to set out, so that you don't have to. The place that you want, you just want to make sure that no kids, no pets, or anything can get access to your soaps that are curing. And you want to make sure, if you have a dehumidifier, that is awesome. But what you can't see on the camera right here is I took the soap down to bang it, and I actually have a really thick yoga mat that I use. It helps to stand on, and then it cushions when I bang the mold. And all you're doing is, when you bang it, is if there's any air, it's going to bring it up to the surface, and it helps even it out in the mold too. Because you don't want one side to have more soap than the other, so you want to make sure that the soap is even throughout the mold. And I'm just using a whisk to put some decoration on top. You can use a fork, spoon, pastry brush, you can use whatever you want. And you can just leave it plain too, you don't have to do any decoration. That's just something that I like to do. When I do swirls and stuff, I do all these little really decorative tops. But so I feel like I have to have something. And then to avoid soda ash, I always spray with 91% rubbing alcohol, and I spray it liberally once and then put plastic wrap on it. And my boyfriend makes my molds for me, and they come apart, which is awesome. But they also allow air to seep in on the sides, which can cause soda ash to come in. And so I don't want that. So I wrap the whole mold in saran wrap, and then they work perfectly. But now since I'm letting this gel, it's just going to get covered, and it's going to sit there. And you always want to let them sit for at least 24 hours, sometimes longer. Some soaps I'll let sit for 48 hours, depending on my recipe and if they gelled or not. So it completely depends on if you gelled it, and the recipe, how long it sits. And you can cover it with a towel to help insulate it to get the full gel. Yeah, and if I don't gel, I'm soaping so much colder and it goes right in the fridge. But here's the picture. This is like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes later, it's at a full gel. You can see the translucent stage there. Thank you very much for watching. Follow me at my Instagram and subscribe to my website.